All right, welcome to this meditation today. This is going to be my own kind of creation of a practice that I have used from the book Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott, which is an amazing book. If you haven't read, I highly recommend it. And I'm combining that with a meditation that I do myself that is for kind of like a worst case scenario, fear-based meditation. And I found myself kind of having this sort of a little bit of a template from the book and this other one. And then when I go into it, my intuition just leads me in this combination of the two. Like they kind of merge. And so I got inspired to create this meditation because my sister actually invited me to create a meditation going along with the book for her. And I had already been thinking that what I was experiencing personally would be really valuable to have a little bit more of a structure to. So I'm going to speak really quickly to the basis of where this comes from and why we would use this, and then I will get into the guided meditation. So I wanted to just break down my own understandings of some of the kind of core principles of this book. So essentially, the book Existential Kink has this basis in really the marriage between the unconscious and the conscious mind. Or you could say the dance between the two. So we go through these lives of ours as human beings, and we have our conscious mind, and that makes up maybe 5% of our mental space. And then we have our unconscious mind, and that's about 95%. And you might hear the phrase a lot of times that people say, like, we're creating our experience, we're creating our life, or we're choosing everything. And if you don't really know what that means, that can kind of feel untrue to me at first. And not only can it feel untrue, but it can kind of feel like a confusing statement. Because in our reality, oftentimes we're experiencing things that really don't feel like we're choosing them, right? Like, you know, there's times where we lose a job, or we go through a breakup, or something really out of the ordinary happens, and we feel like there's absolutely no way that we're choosing that. So I want to break this down because I think that this is really, for me, this was one of the most insightful things to become aware of in myself, was the understanding that when they say any like teacher, you know, who's teaching spiritual or self-development work or whatever it is, if they're teaching this idea that we're choosing everything, you really have to understand that that means that it's our unconscious mind and our conscious mind that are choosing the creations of our life. So, you know, this is something that we learned back in psychology of the unconscious mind and its creations. And if 95% of who we are in our mental space is unconscious, meaning we are not aware of it, then of course it's not going to feel like we're choosing much of our life if 95% is being chosen without our awareness. So what people really like to call like the spiritual awakening journey is really just making our unconscious conscious. So we're bringing awareness to the things underneath the surface that are creating our lives. So basically that 95% of who we are that's calling the shots and creating our lives through our thoughts and our emotions and our beliefs, those are a lot of times our hand-me-downs, right? A lot of our core beliefs about who we are and how life works that have created the unconscious mind are hand-me-downs based on what we've been taught or what we've learned. It's not always on our self-discovery. And so we learn all these things about life. We kind of download and program ourselves throughout our life based on society. And then all of those programmings that are unconscious in us, that's just we've kind of just soaked them in. Those things, those aspects of who we are creating the choices in our life. So our unconscious mind is taking actions through us right? You probably know the moments in your life that you feel pretty unconscious, like these kind of things are kind of just happening. And then the moments where you are very intentionally creating your reality, where you're there, you're in your body, you're in your senses, you're having a deliberate moment of creation. And so this journey is trying to awaken more and more to bring that presence into every moment so that we're always creating our momentary experience. So when we have these like times in our life where we feel kind of tapped out, like I'm sure we've all had these experiences of feeling just very like autopilot, very numb, just kind of like watching yourself go through the motions and there's not really any zest to life. That's usually when we're unconsciously creating. Choices are happening through us, but it doesn't really feel like we're choosing, right? Decisions are happening, but it doesn't really feel like we're there choosing because we're not really inhabiting our body. We're not really present and deliberate and intentional about the yeses and nos that we're making. So, this book really talks about how when there's something that we're creating in our life, let's say there's an experience that doesn't feel good to you. Let's see, maybe I can make this more personal and use a story from my own life. Okay, let's say for me it's always social anxiety. So I would always feel like extremely anxious talking to people, especially people I didn't know. And I couldn't figure out, like, I feel like I'd been in this, like, you know, what I called my spiritual journey for 5+ years and felt like, why is this still happening? Like, I feel like I'm present enough, I'm conscious enough, I've seen where these things come from, I understand them. Why am I still choosing to have this experience? This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good. And so we look at the places in our life where we feel like something doesn't feel good, where we're, in a sense, we're suffering in a subtle way, maybe, or in a drastic way. Something that's repeating itself over and over and we can't seem to shake it. So we look at these experiences, and on one hand it feels like we're not choosing them, that a lot of times it feels like we're a victim to it, right? That sense of being a victim goes hand in hand with the feeling like, I'm not choosing this. It's happening to me. So when we zoom out and we look at the fact that 95% of who we are is unconscious, and that unconscious mind is also making decisions through us, and those decisions are coming from values that have been programmed by society, not chosen by us. When we look at that, we see that there is some part of us that is choosing that for a reason. That's important. So in the book, she always says, having is evidence of wanting, which can be hard to look at, right? It feels like, no, I don't want this thing. There's no way I want this thing. There's no way that I'm actually choosing this thing. But it's not something that we might consciously choose for ourselves, but there is a reason and a purpose always for why our unconscious mind is choosing something that's happening, even if it doesn't necessarily feel good. And it doesn't feel good because we are in opposition. Our conscious mind is in opposition. It's saying, I don't want to be feeling this thing. But the unconscious mind is saying, I want to feel this thing. And so until we can get our conscious mind aligned with our unconscious desire to experience that thing, we can allow it to be on board so that we can have the experience of actually enjoying and, like the book says, getting off on or becoming turned on by the thing that we think we don't want. We have to get really, really intimate and honest with our shadows here. And this can be kind of scary at first for some of us, because a lot of times there are things driving those icky moments in our life that we would look at consciously and say, there's no fucking way I'd want that. There's, like, it almost might repulse our conscious mind, or it almost might make us feel terrified, because if we liked that thing, then society might reject us, or we might be looked at a different way or ridiculed or whatever it is. And so this takes a lot of transparency and honesty. So the way in which this book goes about bringing this into a practical meditation is that when we allow ourselves a space where we can soften into the body, we can get into a sensual experience where we're not so heavily in our mind, we can start to drop into the unconscious, because the more that we drop into the body, the more that we have access to the unconscious mind, because they're very, very linked. And so when we move away from the analytical, kind of fast-paced, like alpha and beta states, or beta comes first, but beta and alpha states of our brain, and we start to deepen, we start to shift into this more parasympathetic space, we start to open up access points to our unconscious mind where we have the opportunity to make our unconscious conscious. We're bringing the light of our awareness down into the unconscious mind within the body. So as we're doing this, we can use our minds as a tool to bring up the experience of something that doesn't feel very good in our lives. Something that feels like maybe it's blocking what we really want. Something that just like we can't shake. It just keeps coming up over and over and over again. It's driving us crazy. We can bring that into meditation, and we can start to invite in the sensations in our body that come along with those stories. And then there's a process here that I'm going to do my best to create a guided meditation for, where we are able to alchemize and neutralize and therefore close out these experiences, because we're going to allow ourselves to fully go into the shadow with complete and total acceptance. And one of the things I wanted to address in this before going into the meditation is that one of the key things in allowing this to work is that there cannot be force and pushing energy here. This cannot be like you're attached to the idea that you need to get rid of something. If you go into this experience thinking, I'm going to heal and get rid of this thing, I'm going to finally be rid of this part of myself, there's still an element of trying to get somewhere else and pushing. And it's a very subtle feeling. This is something you have to work with in the body and in kind of like in the texture of your own consciousness, and I'll hopefully do my best to guide that. But the texture that you want to hold in your awareness for this experience is one of complete and total openness. It's an absence of doing anything. To me, it is very much the quality of the Divine Mother and the energy of complete and total love and nurturing, as if you're holding a space where you're just going to love exactly what is, and you're going to allow exactly what is. It's like the full embodiment of the heart, just saying yes, like, I see you, I love you, I allow you. And what that is going to do is it's going to open up. You can even think of this in terms of sex, right? Like, the woman's body has to open and soften and get ready to be penetrated by the man. And when sex occurs, during orgasm, there is this moment of merging, right? Whether this is an orgasm even on your own or with a partner, there is this moment of merging with Source, this moment of unity consciousness where the ego is like completely obliterated. That's why orgasm feels so good, because it's the closest that we can get in our bodies to Source, to unity consciousness. And it's this pure bliss. And so that moment, to me, is kind of like, I have this card that I just pulled in my deck called the Alchemical Wedding. And to me, that's really what this is. This merging of our unconscious and our conscious mind. There's a climax, there's a moment of neutralizing energy where everything is just one, where there's no division, and both polarities become one. So we're doing this with these experiences in our lives. We have this thing that doesn't feel good, that has a charge to it, because there's a polarization. There's a part of us that is saying yes to it and a part of us that is saying no to it. And so what we want to do here is we want to neutralize. And so we take the thing that we are in contradiction toward, that we're split or divided, the separation within us that exists within this specific experience. We bring that into meditation, and we allow ourselves to go into the sensation. We allow ourselves to bring it up in the body. And then we might even use our minds to kind of fuel the stories here. You'll kind of find your own way with this. But sometimes it helps to use the mind a little bit to bring in the narratives that are very personal to us around this specific theme in life. You'll kind of see what I mean later on if that doesn't make sense yet. And as we open and allow, we can actually begin to get really turned on by this experience that we're having that we think we don't want. Because a part of us actually is. A part of us that is actually creating this experience that we think we don't want is already very turned on to this. And you might say, no, not at all. It can't be true. But you might be very surprised, because when you go into this meditation and you start to feel into these things without the narrative that it's wrong, and you start to think from the place of your shadow, of the fact that this is happening for a reason. This part of me is manifesting something in my reality because it wants to be experienced by God, right? There is an element of God within you that is wanting to have that polar experience from what your conscious mind thinks. And when we can fully let that be okay, the sensations and the stories and everything that's coming up, when we just fully allow that in our meditation, I'm not saying you go out in your life and you just let everything happen. I'm just saying, just for this meditation, fully allowing what is happening to just be okay, and to see if there's a part of you that actually is craving that and desires that. And the more and more that you get on the side of that unconscious mind and its desires and what's happening in your life already, you'll start to notice that there is a lot of sensation that comes up in the body. Sometimes it's subtle at first, other times it's pretty extreme. I've found times where if I have a really big charge to something, I can all of a sudden get very turned on by this experience. And other times where it's kind of subtle, and sometimes that's when I work with my mind a little bit to like egg it on and use different narratives and kind of extract it forward and then amplify it, and then the sensation will grow and grow. And the intention here is to get to a place where you feel like you neutralize. And this might not be an actual orgasm. For most people, it probably won't be an orgasm. It's not usually that way for me. Although you could do this within sex, you could do this within self-pleasure also. But if this is just something you're doing in a meditation, it doesn't have to be climactic in the sense that you orgasm. It's more of finding a place where you allow yourself to really connect to this on a very body sensation-based level, where you allow yourself to start to feel turned on. And turned on doesn't have to be like, the way that your mind thinks it. It can be a very body felt experience of just a lot of sensation, a lot of openness. Maybe your heart starts to feel warm. Maybe your inner thighs start to feel some energy. Whatever it is, it's like fully going into allowing your body to feel this. And at some point you'll get to a place where you start to just feel a sense of neutrality. And this might happen in one go. With certain themes it might. Sometimes it takes coming back to this over and over and over again. And sometimes this thing that you think you don't want, this icky situation, might have to keep happening in your life for a while. And you might have to keep coming back to this meditation and working with it and letting yourself accept and love it and get turned on by it. And the aim here, again, is not to get rid of this experience, but to be so turned on by the fact that some part of you is creating it that it almost doesn't matter. It's like you want to get to a place where it doesn't matter if this thing shifts in your life, because you're genuinely actually enjoying it, and that you're authentically enjoying it. And I'll just share, like, the last thing here is that a lot of times these things come from our fears. Things that are icky situations can stem from fears. And when we allow ourselves to go into a fear that is driving a behavior, an unconscious creation, and so essentially we have a lot of these fears that are kind of creating this autopilot in us of avoidance, of like being really stressed out to make sure certain things don't happen a certain way, and it can get very, very mental. And oftentimes if you're starting to find yourself feeling really anxious about a decision or moving too quickly through life, if you sit down and ask yourself, like, what is it that I'm avoiding? And you look at the core of that and you ask yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of here? Usually most of our icky situations have something like an avoidance tendency wrapped up in them. So that's why today I'm going to use this combination of a fear meditation with the existential kink meditation. Because when you look at this fear and you start going into the worst case scenarios, there's a really cool alchemy that happens here, because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's happening around you in your reality and what's happening in your head. And so we're on this trajectory oftentimes to learn all these different lessons in our lives. And oftentimes those lessons have to show us something that we're afraid of, because we unconsciously pull that in to experience it, because we want to experience it. We might not realize we want to experience it, but we want to experience it. And sometimes those things play out in ways that, we don't enjoy. And when we're able to go internal and meditate on these worst case scenarios, the things that we're really afraid of, and we go into them deep enough and we live through them as if they're happening, then we can actually, in a way, we're kind of tricking our consciousness, because it doesn't know the difference. And so we can learn that lesson inside of ourselves instead of having to manifest it in our external reality. So we live through it and we come to a place of neutrality with it. And I've found that we can do this, that same neutralizing, through the ability of getting turned on by our fears, by our shadows. You could call this shadow play. There's probably many people who teach this out there. But it's essentially the same idea. When we allow ourselves to get turned on by these things that we think we really don't want, either things that we think we don't want that are already manifesting, or things that we don't want that could happen, that we are trying and running away from and avoiding and creating all this urgency in our life about, there is so much magic here. There's so much creativity here. Because the more that we bring our shadows into the light, the more of our unconscious that we make conscious, the more creativity we unlock, and the more deeply we come into our body. So, you can use this meditation anytime. This could be used in a moment where you're experiencing a cycle that you're really wanting out of, or really not understanding why it's continuing to come in. It's not feeling good. You can also use this meditation for a fear that you might have. And rather than going into what is happening, you can go into the possibility of what could happen as a worst case scenario. So you can use this either way. But find a place where you can, spend the next 20 or 30 minutes in silence with yourself. And she says in the book something that I really like, and she talks a lot about creating a container for yourself to go into this meditation. And that could be something as simple as, holding a crystal, or lighting some sage beforehand, or some incense, or just having a candle lit beside you, but doing something that sensually speaks to your body. Like on a somatic level, it expresses to your body that something is different. It's kind of like you're declaring a ritual with yourself, or a little bit of a more ceremonial aspect. You're letting yourself know that this is a special moment, that it's out of the ordinary. And I really like that. And that makes it feel much more purposeful. It's like, in a way, you're kind of going in and making love to yourself. So it's like, how do you want to set the tone for that experience? How do you want to love yourself in this experience? Because you are bringing your conscious and your unconscious mind basically to have intercourse through this meditation. You're allowing them to marry each other and to find unity and neutralize something. And it's actually a really intimate journey. I find that every time that I do this, I come into it with a lot of anticipation and fear and sometimes some really challenging feelings and emotions. And every single time that I come out of this, and especially like the next morning after I sleep on it, I feel like I've opened up this level of my power and creativity and life force that I didn't have access to before. So, as if you are going into this space like you would going into an intimate moment with a lover or into self-pleasure with yourself, let yourself create a container and an environment that is really conducive for the type of experience that you want to feel. What is the type of love and texture and quality of this energy that you want to give to yourself? So feel free to pause this and come back to it whenever you're ready, whenever your space feels really aesthetic and beautiful and sensual and safe and private. But give yourself that gift. Feel free to do this sitting up. I prefer sitting up just so you can really feel that active spine. You could also do this laying down if you're heading into bed and you're feeling like the theme you're working with maybe feels a little bit more like a slower pace to it. Feels more gentle, feels more like, certain themes might feel more fiery, more of that like Mars energy, more active, and other ones might feel a little bit more passive, more gentle, or more romantic even. Just, we have all these different themes that we go through in our life, so really choose for yourself what that position is, what that incense is that you're using, what the candle is that you're using. You can really create a large part of this experience by being very intentional about the elements that you're adding to the space. All right, and whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and close your eyes. So, just coming into your breath, whether sitting or laying down. And for this first moment, just letting yourself really arrive. Straightening the spine. Maybe placing a hand on your heart just to feel a deeper connection to your body. And starting to follow the breath down as deep as you can into your abdomen. Letting your belly just fall open. There's no one here to impress, nothing to hold on to. Just really expand into your belly. Just taking a couple of deep belly breaths, seeing how much air you can fill yourself up with. And starting to bring that breath, after it fills up the belly, up into the ribs, just expanding open in all directions. As you continue to breathe now, just letting go of the mind needing to control the breath, just letting the breath fall into rhythm. Staying connected to it, but no need for control. Starting to imagine on this wave of your breath, you are letting layers of tension be released. Every inhale feeling a little bit more expansive, your cells opening up to fresh energy. Your abdomen letting go. And then with every exhale, just feeling the body begin to melt, to soften, to let go. Every exhale, just taking another layer off. Just feeling that subtle, gentle heartbeat beneath your hand. To imagine here that you're sitting or lying and feeling the earth beneath you pressing up into your sit bones or into your back. Imagining that the earth is pushing up against you in support, as if she is saying with her touch, "I've got you. I've got you." And imagining that you can feel beneath you the earth's heartbeat. Just like sound waves or ripples that come out from the center, with each beat of the earth's heart beneath you, feel a ripple of life force begin to roll through your body. Breathing deep, continuing to soften. Letting the jaw loosen, letting all the creases around the eyes begin to drop away. Just feeling that gentle heartbeat rippling out in support and comfort. Just like the Divine Mother, letting you know that she's here holding you. Checking in with your root chakra, seeing if there's any energy here, any tension that you can just give over to the earth. And just let her take everything. Taking the next 3 deep breaths into the root chakra, in through the perineum. Breathing up into the sexual organs, And if you're a woman, letting this breath continue up into your womb, and seeing it fill with life, light, maybe even seeing nature begin to fill your womb, creative energy. Just feeling into that all of nature is alive sexual energy from the earth. So if you think about a wild forest or jungle, or you imagine flying in a helicopter above a beautiful, massive mountain range, seeing a long strand of images of all kinds of landscapes of Mother Earth. And I invite you to sense and feel the aliveness of nature behind those scenes. The raw, erotic energy of the earth in all of her forms. Imagining that you could feel gentle rain on your skin, and then switching to feeling surrounded by a crazy lightning storm with flashes all around you. And feeling yourself floating on a river downstream under the sun. Or feeling the crash of ocean waves. Or walking barefoot on damp soil through an old, ancient forest. Perhaps rolling around in the mud, feeling the primal energy, the aliveness of being in touch with Mother Earth, with the wilderness. I want you to breathe that energy up from the earth with every beat of her heart, pulsing into your root chakra and sending out a ripple of energy through your body. And just allowing her to share that sensual energy, that alive, wild, raw, erotic energy with you. Pure innocence, pure play, pure joy, pure creation. Let it pulse, let it move. Notice if there's any textures or colors to this energy, or notice where it wants to go in your body. Feel free to move your body if your body wants to move, or stay still. There's no wrong way to do this. I'm just going to give you a few moments to just sit and breathe that life force, that vitality up into the body, and just notice how it moves you. shifting into the image of walking through a forest. You look down and you see your bare feet hitting the damp soil underneath you. You're alone here, and it's a beautiful, warm, sunny day. The sunlight is trickling in through all the branches and the trees, scattering itself on your skin. And you feel yourself walking through this forest almost as if you're being tugged by your heart. A gentle smile is on your lips, and you feel like you have no care in the world today. Like it's just you and this moment and Mother Earth and the exploration of what is deep within this forest. So you continue to walk, and with each step you feel a sense of excitement building inside of you, an anticipation for something that you can't quite see, but you know is there, an excitement to uncover the mystery. And with each step that you take, you start to feel more and more at ease and relaxed. Your body's continuing to soften and let go. You feel an openness, and it's effortless and easy to let go of all thoughts. They are simply wisps of smoke disappearing into the distance. With each step you take into this forest, you feel more and more in tune with the body, connected to nature. You feel your feet begin to create roots beneath you. You feel as if you are almost flowing as nature through this forest, interconnected to all the sounds around you, all the changing colors. With each step deeper and deeper into this forest, the mind fades away, and your body begins to feel like an aspect of the trees themselves. The wisdom in the invisible space around you, the birds, the insects. And as you walk even further, each step brings you to a feeling of deeper and deeper innocence. A childlike type of wonder begins to spread through your body, as if there is nothing in the world to care about besides the wonder of what's next, the wonder of what's beyond what you cannot see. Pure discovery. And as you continue, you notice a clearing opening up just down the path. And with a few more steps, the trees open up into a wide, beautiful meadow. It's filled with your favorite flowers. You see a beautiful mountain range off in the distance. The mountains look like they're colored with deep mahogany and browns and even tastes of blue and purple, glowing in the setting sun. A large moon hangs in the sky. All of the twinkling stars light up the forest with this beautiful twinkling energy. As you look out over the landscape, admiring the mysticism and the ethereal nature of this place, you notice a small cropping of rocks and a few smaller trees at the edge of the meadow. As you begin to walk over to them, the nearer you get, you see a glistening pool between the rocks. Something about this pool calls to you. It feels like it has some sort of message, something to understand and uncover here. As if the magnet within your heart is being drawn to the waters of this pool, you feel yourself being led, almost floating towards it. And as you come to the edge, you place your hands on the sides of the pool and you bend over it, gazing into the beautiful glistening surface. It shimmers in the moonlight. And as you look into the surface of the water, somehow you understand deeply what this water is for. Your body seems to move you with an intention deeper than just mind. And suddenly you begin to look around you for a special object or piece of nature as an offering to this water of what you have come to transmute and alchemize. Look around you and see what stands out. As you allow this object to be made known to you, you pick it up and you hold it to your heart, closing your eyes. You allow yourself to begin to think about and bring up whatever part of life that you are wishing to neutralize today. So for this moment, with your closed eyes, breathing deep, centering in on this object, let yourself fully tap into the experience that you're bringing into the space. Let yourself feel anything that situation is bringing about in your body. Open yourself fully to feeling any sensations or emotions. As you've chosen the experience that you're wishing to work with, letting that energy be encoded inside of this object, and with a silent prayer to this water and to yourself, your unconscious mind, your body, setting the intention to be shown today exactly what is needed and to feel exactly what is needed to be felt in order to find neutrality. And if you still have your hand on your heart, just take it off and begin to use your first two fingers to tap gently on your heart space. Beginning to feel that space in your body. And as you do, take that object and everything that you've just encoded into it, the experience that you're wishing to bring to the alchemical laboratory of your own soul. And bring that object up to your heart space and let your heart consume it, pulling it into the very center. Seeing that object begin to glow in the center of your heart. Feeling its intention and its prayer beginning to beat with your heart. And you can tap as long as you'd like until you feel that intention fully rippled out from the center of your heart into all of your cells of your body, all the cells of your unconscious mind within the body. As you let your hand come back to rest in your lap, and you settle back into the softness of your being, imagine in this space that you begin to derobe, taking off your clothes, knowing that you are fully safe, that there is no one else around. This space is entirely for you. And as you strip off your clothes, you step up the rocks and gently begin to lower yourself into the warm water of this beautiful pond. As you move deeper and deeper into it, water coming up your skin, you feel the pleasant, warm energy like a bath, sending the most delicious and soft energies through your body as you deepen into relaxation and openness, melting fully, expanding fully, letting every cell of your body begin to surrender and let go. Moving all the way in until you are all the way submerged up to your shoulders. And just before you close your eyes within this pond and let yourself fully surrender, you notice that just where your heart is, underneath the water, begins to glow a light aquamarine, pulsing out energy from your heart as if connecting with the wisdom of the water around you. And you feel the intention that you've set, interconnecting with all of the molecules of the water around you. The water begins to glow. It begins to swirl around you, and you find yourself leaning backwards to float on its surface. Feeling supported all along your back as the water presses up against you and your body softens even more. Feel the space between your thighs soften. Feel all the tiny molecules in your body begin to pulse and vibrate as you begin to let go even deeper. Breathing into your sexual organs, seeing how soft you can become here. Now bringing up the experience that you've come to alchemize today. Inviting in a visual or a story about this experience. And just letting it fully come into view. inviting in any emotions, any sensations connected to it. Inviting in the fullness of every bit of life that this experience touches. Perhaps even letting yourself go through the feeling in your body of what this situation or experience is bringing. Perhaps it makes you frustrated or worked up, jealous, cold, or standoffish. Letting every part of this experience be welcomed and invited in. Remembering that this water is all accepting, all loving. It is connected to all of the earth around you, and it is unconditionally loving of everything that you bring. So just take these next couple moments to get as deeply in touch with the feelings and sensations of this situation that you're convinced you don't like. Let it all in. Don't leave anything out. Deeper that you allow yourself to access these sensations and feelings that arise when this situation comes into your life, the more energy that you will be able to work with here, and the more you will get pleasure from this experience. So no matter what the pain is, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much your mind may want to fight it or not relive it, I invite you to go a little deeper. See how much you can let yourself feel here. If there's any place that the mind is avoiding going, see if you can push past that a little bit and see what's on the other side. What we're pushing away, we are also pulling in, and what we fight strengthens. So what happens when you let that part of you in, that thing in that you're avoiding? That scenario or fear. Possibility of a way things could go. What if you let yourself envision and feel all of it right here, right now? Nothing to hide from. Living through any conversations that may have brought up triggers, things that somebody said or could say that made you contract. Just letting yourself really live through this experience on a very sensational and somatic level. Believing and trusting here that there is some part of you, some deeper part that is unseen, that is creating this experience or desires this experience for a reason. Imagining that you can approach this situation from that lens. Perhaps, yes, it is your shadow self, the unconscious self. If you can get on their side for just this moment and fully let yourself allow this experience to take place and be lived out through your body right now, what would that feel like? Breathe with it. Let it in. Let it reveal to you its wisdom. Pretend that you are here playing the role of your shadow self, creating this experience. As them, how does this feel to be getting exactly what you want? And what other parts of your life does this touch and influence? What else are you getting from this experience? What other areas of life is it affecting? As you deepen into this experience with yourself, begin to invite the breath to open up into your sexual organs, drawing this energy up through the base of your spine, feeling that pulsation of Mother Earth and of the part of you that you might not be able to see that is getting off on this experience, that loves the creation of this weird, unconventional, or twisted, or strange thing that's manifesting in your life. What would it feel like to let that part of you fully create this on purpose, just for right now? And this is where I'm going to leave you, to explore the depths of all the places that this scenario or situation touches in your life. Remembering that there is nothing to push away, everything to allow. Seeing if you can allow your body to fully open and expand, and feel all the sensations of desire for what it's creating. Stay here as long as you'd like. Honor every sensation that wishes to be felt and tasted. Remember, this is a part of your choice and creation. So let yourself see truly why this is, why you're choosing it. And let yourself feel everything that you deserve to feel from your creation.